Have you been trying to improve your aim but still struggle to land your shots? Well, in this video, I'm going to go over 5 important drills you can do in the range, which will improve various aspects of your mechanics. And by the end of this video, you should go from aiming like this to this.
Stopping mid. Nice shot, bro. Nice shot, bro. Nice shot, bro.
And speaking of getting better at Valorant, let me introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, GOSU Academy. GOSU Academy provides you with professional coaching, including players who are actual pros. They offer multiple opportunities to improve your gameplay. This includes training methods, advanced theory lessons, and VOD reviews taught by some of the best in the industry. Even better, you get to play in weekly 10-man custom games guided by those same coaches, which is a nice change from the solo queue jungle. Plus, every month, GOSU Academy brings in coaches from franchise teams to give you exclusive lectures. So if you're determined to become a better Valorant player and want to be surrounded by like-minded gamers instead of the many toxic ranked teammates, sign up with my link for a free 30-day trial. In just 30 days with GOSU Academy, you can make improvements to your game that could take you 6 months on your own. So why not try it out? It's an awesome deal and I'd love to see you guys benefit from it. I'm going to start by covering a few important aspects of improving your aim that you must watch before you start trying out these drills. The first is making sure your desk and chair are at the correct level for your height. If your desk is too low, you can end up causing your shoulders to slump since a low desk makes you lean further into your monitor. And if your desk is too high, it can also hurt your posture since your shoulders become too stressed for extended periods of time. So take care of your health and make sure you are gaming with your arms comfortably on the desk, creating around a 90-degree angle to the table. Make sure your shoulder and back have the correct posture and have your feet comfortably on the floor. It may not seem like a big deal at first, but in the long run, this can prevent injuries. The second point is finding your ideal sensitivity and having a good mouse grip. I went over how to find your ideal sense in a previous video of mine. In my opinion, you should stick to a sense you feel most comfortable with. However, if you are someone who doesn't know what sense to use, I recommend sticking with a low sense and a big mouse pad. It's much easier to develop calm aim with a low sense, as small movements with your wrist does not affect your aim as much as high sense would. Furthermore, you should be holding your mouse with the correct grip. Holding your mouse too tight or with a bad form can actually cause subtle compensations with your hand or arm, which can affect your aim and health. There's a good video by Struth Gaming I linked below for the ideal mouse grip, which will maximize your control you have on the mouse. Remember, you should avoid being too tense when gripping your mouse and should actively work on being fluid with your physical movements. Now, the third and most important point is to perfect your crosshair placement. I would say 50% of good aim in Valorant relies on proper crosshair placement. Good crosshair placement is knowing where, when, and how to look at various locations throughout the map. Good crosshair placement is far more important than aim training. When I first started playing Valorant, I thought crosshair placement just meant aiming for the head, but that doesn't explain how much more there is to it. Yes, crosshair placement is knowing how to aim at head height, but it's adjusting for small changes based on your distance and elevation that makes it more nuanced. You see, if you go to the range and stand up close to the bots, but then proceed to walk backwards, your crosshair gradually becomes higher and higher from head height. So you need to compensate for the distance between you and the enemy by aiming a little lower the further you go. There are objects you can use to help line up your crosshair on head height, but getting used to the exact placement of your crosshair takes a lot of in-game experience and developing muscle memory. But you also need to consider your distance from a wall, not just your distance from the enemy. There are two main ways you should be placing your crosshair for peeking. The first is pre-aiming. This is where you place your crosshair in a wall while also considering how far the enemy will be standing. Then you walk in a perpendicular direction, which allows you to instantly line up your crosshair on the enemy's head. This crosshair placement and peeking method is best to use when the enemy is standing further away from a wall than you are. It's also the most common style of crosshair placement for clearing most angles. The second style is the opposite. This is where you do not place your crosshair into the wall, but instead keep your crosshair centered around the wall while again considering how far the enemy will be. This style of peeking is used when the enemy is standing closer to a wall than you are or are playing in off angles. You still need to consider how high to place your crosshair, but the difference is that you keep your crosshair centered around angles, which prepares you for unexpected enemies. This style of holding your crosshair is best used when you are moving around the map fast and should be the main way you look at angles if you have no intention of pre-aiming. Consider pre-aiming your crosshair useful for preparing yourself to take a gunfight, and keeping your crosshair centered around a corner useful for when you are not sure where the enemy could peek from. Never stay stare with your crosshair in the wall without intention. Choosing where to place your crosshair is a constant active thinking process, whether that be when you are clearing angles, reloading, planning the spike, or defusing. But the most underrated tip for good crosshair placement actually has to do with game sense. Many times new players get so overwhelmed by how much is going on in a round, they end up staring at a wall. To get better crosshair placement, you need to have a solid understanding of where enemies could be playing based on previous events. This will help you determine where and when you should be looking at a certain angle. Predicting where enemies could be and increasing your in-game awareness, such as learning how to utilize the minimap properly, prepares you to look at the right spot before an enemy appears on your screen. Likewise, predicting enemy movement prepares you for where you should place your crosshair. If the enemy is very confident and rushing with their team, you should hold your crosshair wide, since the enemy is most likely to wide swing you. And if the enemy is playing scared or trying to gather information, you should try to hold your crosshair tighter, since the enemy may jiggle peek instead of wide swinging. With that being said, there will be many times where you will have to gamble looking at a certain angle and you will get some unlucky timing. So that's where working on these 5 important drills can help you win unfavorable gunfights. By the way, if you found these tips helpful, then remember to drop a like and subscribe. We're trying to reach 50,000 subscribers, and I truly appreciate everyone who supports my channel. Now, the first drill is the micro flick drill. With really good crosshair placement, the main area of raw aim you need to work on is micro flicks. Micro flicks allow you to quickly adjust your aim for enemies that are just slightly off your initial crosshair placement, and in Valorant, a majority of gunfights rely on landing your first shot. Go to the range and select the practice bots. Then, stand to the side of the bots and use a classic Sheriff or Guardian. Pick 2 specific bots to flick between. When you shoot the first bot, you need to immediately flick to the next bot's head. However, most of the time your initial flick will not be fully accurate, so that's where you work on your micro flicks. You next need to micro adjust your crosshair to the bot's head and compensate for your initial flick. Keep practicing until you can get comfortably consistent flicking between 2 bots. You should focus on accuracy instead of speed. Another way to practice micro flicks is by buying a Guardian and standing on the boxes at the far left side of the range. Practice your micro flicks by shooting the bots as fast as you can while maintaining your accuracy. Focus on having a fluid motion between shots, and remember, do not grip your mouse too tight. The second drill is the over aim drill. This drill is important to develop coordination between your movement and your aim. Movement is around 30% of having good aim, so this drill is extremely important to master. To get good at consistently clearing angles without over peeking, as well as being able to strafe and dodge bullets during gunfights, you need to master dead zoning. Dead zoning is where you achieve full accuracy while moving before and after you shoot. First, set the practice spots to easy, then buy a Vandal and press start. When the bot spawns on your right, you need to over flick to the right of the bot. Then, using your A key, you need to move to the left until your crosshair lines up on the bot's head. Now keep in mind, you need to let go of your A key slightly before your crosshair is perfectly aligned with the bot's head. This is because your character does move for a few frames after you let go of your movement key. So to get the perfect timing of lining up your crosshair and being completely still before shooting, you need to let go of the A key just a little before your crosshair is on the bot's head. The moment your crosshair is on the bot's head and your character is standing still, should you then shoot. To help, you can turn on the movement error graph to make sure you are dead zoning properly. Orange lines means you shot while still, and blue lines mean you shot while you were moving. If the bot spawns on your left, do the same steps, but this time over flick to the left and move to the right with the D key. Target a score of 30 on easy bots. After that, do the same drill on medium bots and target a score above 25. This drill is not meant to work on your flicks. You are purposely over flicking to imitate scenarios where your crosshair is not on the enemy and are practicing how to use movement alone to aim. This drill will be hard, but it's extremely useful during gunfights because your opponent will be stuck spraying while you can simply use horizontal movement to aim. Once you are comfortable with the first overflick drill, you can move to the advanced method. Set the bots to easy and again use the Vandal. When the bot spawns on your right, you overflick to the right of the bot and then use A to move to the left. Once you shoot, you need to immediately move in the opposite direction. So in this case, after moving to the left with your A key and shooting, you will immediately press the D key. This will help you master the timing for landing a fully accurate bullet while moving before and after shooting. The same steps need to be done if the bot spawns on your left. Eventually, you can get to the point where you can aim with your movement alone and do not need to rely on your mouse movements as much. And to be clear, this is not counter strafing. It's just normal strafing by letting go of your A and D keys. Counter strafing relies on tapping the opposite movement key to stop your character's motion. This helps you stop moving at the exact moment you want, but mastering its timing is harder and will take more time. For a majority of Valorant players, the letting go method will be good enough, but feel free to learn counter strafing if you want to reach the highest levels of mechanics. Now the third drill will help you master your recoil control. While burst firing is the best way to shoot, you can't avoid situations where you need to spray. So it's important to know how to control your recoil, especially if you're stuck in a medium to long range fight. To practice your recoil control, go to the target in the range. Notice how how the first 3 bullets of your Vandal or Phantom are pretty precise, but soon after the 4th and 5th bullet, your shots become very inaccurate. To practice centering your shots, set the bot distance to 10 meters. When you spray, you need to pull down on your mouse so that your crosshair is roughly around the crotch area of the bot at 10 meters. This is roughly the reference pull down length for any distance. Now practice centering your shots at different distances and pulling down your mouse at the same reference level. The 4th drill is important for improving your tracking. While Valorant is a precision-based game, you need to work on your tracking a lot. Tracking is extremely useful when you want to keep your crosshair centered around a corner of a wall while clearing angles instead of pre-aiming. Also, good tracking will make aiming at a moving enemy much easier. To practice your tracking, set the bots to eliminate 100. Then buy a sheriff. Stand inside the range and practice tracking the bot's head while only moving using A or D. After tracking the bot's head for a couple of seconds, make sure you stand fully still and shoot an accurate one tap. Again, you will have to let go of your movement key slightly before shooting so that your character model's residual movement can line up your crosshair perfectly on the bot. Do this drill with the Sheriff, Guardian, Vandal, and Phantom. It takes time, but good tracking will lead to calmer aim. And the 5th drill is the strafe tracking drill. This drill combines almost all the drills mentioned before. Mastering this drill allows you to have a very solid coordination between your movement and raw aim. This is the most realistic practice for ranked because enemies won't be standing still. Set the bots to eliminate 100 with strafe set to on. Buy a Phantom and have bot armor on. When the bot spawns, you need to immediately flick to its head, but make sure not to shoot. Once your crosshair is on the bot's head, you need to strafe using A and D with the bot. As you are strafing, you need to keep your crosshair on the bot's head with good tracking. This will be hard and you won't always be able to track the bot well. In between letting go of your movement keys, practice burst firing on the bot's head, and if you want to, you can practice your recoil control from different distances as well. If you use a Vandal, then practice one tapping the bots, but do not miss. It's important to practice shooting only when you are on target. Shooting too early is a really bad habit, and if you want calmer aim, you need to practice taking your time to line up your shots. After practicing for a while, you will become both faster and more accurate. Mastering these drills will guarantee better aim in Valorant. But to make the most out of your aim, you need to improve on your game sense. Make sure to watch my previous video where I went into gold lobbies to improve your in-game decision making.